Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD, pro physique athlete. Today I'm going to be giving you a full 5-day hypertrophy program based on the upper-lower Arnold split. This is a hybrid split combining upper-lower and the Arnold split into a 5-day setup, and it's a moderate volume program set for late beginners and beyond. The special part about this program is that I wrote it with the idea in mind that you could collapse this into a Monday to Friday setup. That is, running it 5 days straight. I've gotten a lot of requests from people who only have access to the gym on Monday to Friday, so I'm putting out this program to help you guys out. As you guys know, I am the king of free online hypertrophy programming on YouTube, and I'll put out the programs that you guys want to see. Now keep in mind that this program will work with other setups, and actually ideally so. Here's a brief overview of the split. So we have a 5-day setup where in the Arnold segment we have lower body day, chest and back day, and then shoulders and arms. And then in our upper body segment, we have lower body day and upper body day. And you can see how this hybridization of Arnold and the upper lower split works conveniently for a 5-day setup. All right, let's do our program walkthrough. So this is Dr. Swole's upper lower Arnold split program. It's a 5-day program designed to be run from Monday to Friday. Of course, that doesn't have to be the setup, as we'll talk about later. And it's set with moderate volumes designed for a late beginner and onward. So we have lower body day 1, chest and back day, shoulders and arms, lower body 2, and upper body day. Here are the exercises and their sets and reps. Down here we have the total number of sets for each workout, so you have an idea of workout length. And down here we have the total number of sets for each muscle group per week. Let's start with lower body day 1. So we kick it off with squats for the quads, 3 sets, and we're using a top set back off method here. So you're going to work up to 1 top heavy set of 5 to 8 reps, followed by 2 back off sets of 5 to 8 reps with about 10% off the bar. This way you'll get some heavy work to specifically develop strength on that first set, but still accumulate some volume later on. Then we have Romanian deadlifts for the glutes and hamstrings, 3 sets, and we're also using a top set back off method here. 1 top heavy set of 6 to 10 reps, followed by 2 back off sets of 6 to 10 reps. Then we have leg presses for the quads, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And while you're on the leg press machine, you can superset with calf raises for the calves. And we're using a MyRep scheme here. So you're going to work up to 1 main set of 8 to 15 reps, and then take about 10 seconds of break, and then do 6 more sets of 3 to 6 reps. And you'll also be taking short breaks here, only about 10 seconds. The idea is that you'll be staying close to failure on all of these mini sets, so you'll be really accessing that close to failure effective rep zone. This is a very time efficient way to train, and I quite like it for the calves. I'll approximate this as 4 straight sets. Then we have leg curls for the hamstrings, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Then we have chest and back day, and we start with bench press for the chest, 3 sets, and we're also using a top set back off method here. 1 top heavy set of 5 to 8 reps, followed by 2 back off sets of 5 to 8 reps. Then we have weighted pull-ups for the back, 3 sets of 6 to 10. Following that, machine bench press also for the chest, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Then we have neutral grip pull downs for the back, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Dumbbell pullovers for the back, 2 sets of 12 to 20, and finally dumbbell lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 8 to 12. And you can superset these dumbbell movements on a bench. Some people will talk about dumbbell pullovers as activating the chest, and I actually like that for chest and back day here, because you will get a little bit of chest in it, although I'd mainly consider this a back exercise. Then we have shoulder and arm days, so we start with machine overhead press, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Notice that I put a machine variation for our overhead press here, and this is to accommodate for the fact that you might be sore from benching the day before. If you're tired from earlier heavy pressing, you may not feel like doing a heavy overhead press. So you'll see that I've also backed off on the rep range a little bit. You're not going for heavy PRs on this day. Then we have easy bar curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And you could superset these two if you wanted, depending on the layout of your gym. Biceps can pair really well with pushing movements. Then we have rope press downs for the triceps, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And while you're on the cable machine with the rope, you can superset with hammer curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 10 to 15. After that, we have cable overhead extensions for the triceps, 2 sets of 10 to 15. Some barbell upright rows for the side delts, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And finally, machine lateral raises also for the side delts, 3 sets of 8 to 12. Moving on to lower body day 2, we start off with deadlifts for the glutes and hamstrings, 2 sets, and we're using a top set back off method here. 1 top heavy set of 5 to 8 reps, followed by 1 back off set of 5 to 8 reps with lighter weight. Then we have Smith machine 3 sets of 8 to 12. After that, Bulgarian split squats for the glutes and hamstrings, but also for the quads, 2 sets of 8 to 12. Then we have leg extensions for the quads, 3 sets of 10 to 15, and finally machine calf raises for the calves, and we're using a MyRep scheme again, so 1 main heavy set of 10 to 20 reps, followed by 6 mini sets of 3 to 6 reps. You may have seen in some of my other programs that when I do MyRep schemes, I will often program the mini sets as sets of 3 to 5, and this was the way they were initially described, but know that you can play around with this a little bit. Then we have upper body day, and we start off with dumbbell bench press for the chest, 4 sets of 6 to 10 reps. Next, we have single arm dumbbell rows for the back, 3 sets of 8 to 12. And you can superset these two movements on the bench. After that, cable rows, also for the back, 3 sets of 10 to 15. Notice that I've biased my back work on this upper body day to horizontal pulling movements, while my back movements on this chest and back day are vertical pulling movements. And the reason for doing this is these pull-ups and pull-downs involve a little bit more bicep, and this allows us to distribute our bicep work a little bit more over more days, which we'll talk about later. Some people also like the ability to focus on one type of movement on one day, so having a more horizontal pulling focused back day versus a more vertical pulling focused one. That's typically not my favorite way to do it, but it's something that you can try out as well. Then we have lying bicep curls for the biceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10, so you basically lie flat on your back on a bench for these. And then easy bar skull crushers for the triceps, 3 sets of 6 to 10, and you can superset these while you're on the bench. Finally, we have some more machine lateral raises for the side delts, 4 sets of 12 to 20. Notice a couple things here. So I did make a small modification to the Arnold split segment here. I moved some of our side delt work off of shoulder day onto chest and back day, and this is to distribute some of the volume for your side delts. The side delts recover quickly and do well with higher volumes, and a lot of naturals are lacking in their side delts. Notice that our shoulders and arms get trained 3 times per week in this program. The shoulders get trained 3 times per week, as I mentioned, and the biceps and triceps get trained indirectly with our pulling movements on chest and back day. Okay, now that you've seen the program, let's talk about the weekly layout. So as advertised, this program is meant to be run from Monday to Friday. This does give us quite a bit of a challenge from a programming perspective when we want to train 5 days consecutively. I will preface this by saying that this is a suboptimal setup. You ideally want to spread out your rest days as much as possible, but we're going to be talking about this layout for now. The main issue with this kind of 5 days in a row setup is spreading out your training volume as much as possible across the week. For example, I had people asking whether they could just do upper, lower, upper, lower, upper, but the issue with that is you would have your lower body days very close to each other. And when you bunch up your training volume like that, you're not making the best use of your week. This is because you would still be sore from your first leg day when you come onto your second leg day, so you won't perform as well on your second leg day. I use the Arnold and upper lower splits here specifically to deal with a couple of issues. Let's talk about those. First of all, you'll notice that I've switched up the order from what I usually do for these splits. I put lower body day first for the Arnold segment and lower body day first for the upper lower segment. The key here is that it allows us to spread out our major muscle group training as much as possible. So your lower body day is nicely spread out throughout the week, and your chest and back training is also nicely spread out across the week. If you had this in the order that I normally program in, so chest, back, shoulders and arms, and then legs, and then upper and lower, your leg training would get bunched up here in the week. Notice that since we have our lower body day coming first after our restful weekend, you're going to be the most fresh for this first lower body day, so legs do get a slight prioritization in this program. You'll see that our chest and back and upper body days come right after lower body day, which is not ideal. Usually I like having your main upper body training coming before your lower body training. This is because if you had a really tough lower body day, you may not perform as well on your upper body work. That being said, we're structuring this program for more of a beginner athlete, so this won't be as much of an issue just because you aren't lifting such heavy weights. Another thing I like about this setup is that the shoulder and arm day provides a little bit of a break in between your main lower body and chest and back training. Okay, now that you understand the program, let's talk about the pros and cons. So starting off with the pros, this program has the advantage of you being able to train your arms and shoulders when they're fresh. When you have a dedicated shoulder and arm day, you're able to attack those exercises with more energy, as opposed to your direct arm and shoulder work coming after your main chest and back training. This happens in a lot of common science-based splits like push-pull legs, upper, lower, and full body. When you have a dedicated arm and shoulder day, you will find that you'll be able to push more weight on those movements. Next, by virtue of splitting up chest and back and shoulder and arm training, we get a higher frequency for our shoulder and arm training. This is because the arms are trained indirectly on our pushing and pulling movements on chest and back day. And as you saw, I made that little modification of moving a little bit of side delt work onto chest and back day as well. Notice that I deliberately chose back exercises that involve a bit more bicep to put on your first chest and back day. This was to help to distribute the stress of our shoulder and arm training. Finally, in this program, leg training gets a bit of a priority since we have our leg days coming first in both the Arnold segment and the upper lower segments across the week. Typically, the first day coming after a rest day is going to get a bit more priority because this is going to be your most rested day. So you do want to think a little bit about where to place workouts across the week to make use of different priority days. And you saw in this program that I really tried to make sure we spread out our leg, chest, and back training across the week as much as possible. possible. Remember, if you have general physique goals, you really want to be prioritizing your chest, back, and leg training. This is what's going to get you the most bang for your buck in terms of muscle mass overall. So this is why you'll see I'll almost never place a shoulder and arm day right after a rest day. Alright, now let's talk about the cons of this 5-day Monday to Friday upper lower Arnold split program. Starting off, this program has bunching up of your arm training. Notice that if you run this program in the Monday to Friday layout like I showed before, your arm training gets bunched up later in the week. So you have your shoulder and arm day, then you have a lower body day, then you have your upper body day. So you only have one day in between your direct arm training for your biceps and triceps. This is a disadvantage because, as we talked about earlier, you want to spread out your training for each muscle group as much as possible across the week. So if your arms are still tired from that direct training on shoulder and arm day, you might not perform as well on your direct work on the next upper body day. Now note that I tried to offset this a little bit by choosing a little bit more bicep focused back exercises for our chest and back day. So you have a little bit of spreading out of some of your stimulus and you're making a bit better use of that rest time for your arms. Basically, another way to think about it is that you don't want a single muscle group laying idle for most of the week. Now, out of all the muscle groups, the arms are probably a better one to put in this predicament because, as we talked about earlier, they are trained indirectly with your chest and back training. So having that chest and back day actually splits up a little bit of your arm training and allows you to distribute your stress better across the week. Now, if you have the ability to do so, I would actually prefer that you put a rest day in between your Arnold and upper lower segments. So this program will work and will probably be even better if you ran it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, rest, Friday, Saturday. But if you are constrained to training Monday to Friday, then this could be an option. Next con of this program is your chest and back training comes after legs twice in the week. So in our Arnold segment, we had our lower body day one and then chest and back day. And then with our upper lower segment, we had lower body day coming before upper body day. This is not ideal because if you're really fatigued after lower body training, it could impact your upper body training. That being said, we did see how this ordering of the days gave a little bit of priority to our legs. So keep in mind that a lot of these questions in programming are not black and white, but more of a question of pros and cons. Finally, with the Arnold split segment of the program, you have shoulders coming after chest. So you had your chest and back day and then shoulders and arms. I started this because I did try to mitigate this by choosing less strenuous upper body pressing movements. Note that I did put a star here because I did try and offset this by choosing less demanding overhead pressing movements, such as machine overhead press on that shoulder and arm day. So in this program, your overhead press is not meant to be a big heavy movement. And thus, if you're still sore after your chest training, you won't feel that pressure to really perform on your shoulder and arm day after. Now I will be sharing this full program as an Excel file in my Facebook group. So if you haven't joined the group already, find the link in the description below. Join the group and you can download the program for free. If you want to train 5 days per week, but you have the ability to spread out your days, check out this video where I share a program based on the upper lower split for 5 days per week. The upper lower split is a really versatile setup that works for 4, 5, and 6 days per week. And you'll see an example of how I set this up for 5. Make sure you keep upgrading your bodybuilding knowledge by subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you next time.